I now hand over to Professor Adimolu, who will read the citation of Dr. Adedayo Oduola.
Thank you very much. Without wasting our time, I ask Dr. Oduola Adedayo to stand up while reading this recitation. Dr. Adedayo Oduola is a trained entomologist with a keen passion for reduction in malaria burden through the introduction of interventions based on applied knowledge of malaria, of vector ecology, behavior, and human interactions. He was a research fellow at the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research and worked as an entomologist on several projects of national significance, funded by several agencies, including WHO, MIM, TDR, European Union, Vestergaard, Frankenstein. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ilorin and has taught both undergraduate and graduate students. He has supervised several and 4 doctoral students and has mentored a host of others from diverse geographical zones in Nigeria. Dr. Oduola has over 20 years of working in research institutes and in academia. He's currently with ABT Associates and functions as a country director on a USAID PMI Evolve funded project. He has brought to fore his vast technical and managerial experience to lead a multi-centered annual and longitudinal evaluation of 16 researchers and scientists from universities working in over 91 local government areas in Nigeria. Dr. Oduola is a reviewer for several reputed journal outputs, and he has over 50 published papers and several technical papers to his credit. He is married with children. I now present to you Dr. Oduola Adedayo.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here, and I want to stand on the existing protocol that has been established, and I will want to appreciate the ESN leadership for giving me this opportunity to present this plenary, and I want to crave your indulgence. My talk is going to be a bit different, maybe different from the way it has been. We've talked about beneficial insects, but what I'll be talking about, I will not actually be talking about the insects. I'll actually be talking about the people who manage the insects. And that's what I'll focus on. And you would see that identifying gaps and strengthening the capacity of Nigerian entomologists for effective and sustainable control of vector-borne diseases. I have a bias for malaria, and quite a number of topics or things that I'll be alluding to will be those that I've directly worked with and things that I presently handled or have handled maybe in the last 5-6 years. Yes. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at the theme of this 52nd Annual Entomology Society, I looked at it and I was able to summarize that we're looking at the entomologists. It talks about the role of insects. How would rather want to look at the entomologist. If the entomologist is doing fine, he will be able to look at those insects. And it's good that, because all those things are complementing, those who have spoke about the insects. So let's talk about the entomologist and what the entomologist stands to contribute to the country. What are the expectations? What are the expectations from an entomologist during endemic or pandemic? One of the key words that we'll see during this presentation, during this theme, is the pandemic. Next slide. And I would like to say the pandemic is over, but we still have malaria being what? Endemic. And if you look at, malaria is just one of the tropical diseases, vector-borne diseases that we have. And, you know, if you look at this figure, it talks about the number of deaths that was witnessed during the COVID-19 2020. And you would see that from different parts of the world, Africa seems to be the worst hit. But if you look around 2019, 2020, you would see that there's a decline. And these are the deaths that are from malaria. So in terms of the reduction, achievement, improvement that has been made from 2000 up to 2019, you see during the COVID, you have a resurgence. If you look at the last map at 2020, you see an increase. So COVID really had an impact on malaria. But what are those things that we have to learn? Next slide, please. Now, if you look at this one as well too, it talks about the COVID-19 cases, deaths across WHO. And if you are looking at the number of deaths in 1,000, Africa has the lowest. But the previous slide is not the same. But there's so much emphasis on COVID, even rather than malaria. Malaria is endemic, is with us. But COVID came as an epidemic and resulted into what we call endemic. Now it's at the level that is being managed. Next. Now, if you look at it, epidemic, just as I'm presenting here, is an outbreak that affects many people at one time and can spread to several communities. Whereas epidemic, it has to do with what? Infectious disease due to a sudden rise of cases, usually from an infectious agent, or the change in status of an existing pathogenic agent. Now, once epidemic becomes global and affects a large percentage of population, it becomes pandemic when it moves across different sites. And the term pandemic is used to describe the rate of the spread. That's what we have in COVID-19. And all the things we're looking at COVID has overshadowed our effort, all the effort that have been placed in malaria control. And therefore, during that 2019-2020, from that chart, you could see that because efforts were placed more on COVID-19 at the detriment of malaria control, we started having increase in malaria cases as well. Next. So I've just brought this to let you see what the pattern of infection, what number of infections looks like during an epidemic situation. It rises, but as immunity starts getting built up in individuals, it comes to an endemic point, and that's the point where we actually have malaria. So what would rather be our focus? Should our focus be on the epidemic that comes with the huge noise, huge mortality, and we're losing front on malaria, which we have been trying to manage? So you will see that the endemic period extends for a longer time than the COVID-19, and that's where our focus would be, because that's the focus where malaria is. It has remained with us. It doesn't spike like COVID spiked, but constantly it's killing and there's mortality. Next slide, please. And can you go back, please? Oftentimes, these are academic environment. You see this and say, malaria is a major public health. We see it several times in many journals. And we even know that Nigeria has the highest burden of malaria. And therefore, what we are saying is that let's focus on our vector-borne diseases as well. It's interesting that this Entomology Society of Nigeria, and quite a number of things that we're talking about, will be for us to reassure, to reevaluate what we do and how that can solve vector or improve on or reduce the burden of vector-borne diseases. Next, please. So when we look at vector-borne diseases and we are looking at contributions of insects, we may not find so many insects that have been involved in pandemics, but there are cases, places like the US where they had Brazil, where they had Zika virus, and it was viral. But most of the things that we have are mainly tropical diseases that are not viral in nature, but they are staying with us. So historically, we don't have that, but we know that insects, entomologists, are the ones that are responsible for those other arthropods that are involved in disease transmission. That's why this society is so important, because we don't only look at the insects, we look at other arthropods as well too that are involved, and that's because it's still within our purview. So what is the role of environmental health officers? What is the role of community extension workers, nurses, medical doctors? Now, I brought this topic out to me. How do we relate with epidemics, endemics? Now, in a situation where we have pandemic, what comes to our mind? If you look at these categories of staff, categories of workers, it's usually the medical doctors that comes to mind. Hardly do we ask ourselves, do entomologists have a role to play? And that's because most of those pandemics are not entomology related. But we have vector-borne disease that lies within our portfolio that we can contribute. And those are the areas that we need to start exerting our influence to start supporting. And that's why I'm looking at how do we see ourselves as contributing. Next slide. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we know that vectors are life forms of arthropods or that transmit pathogens that affect human beings. Next slide, please. Now, if you look at this timeline, I got this online, and it looked at from 541 to up to 2019. If you look at it closely, you'll possibly be able to find in 541 where you have flea. And flea, that's the closest thing to arthropods that is involved in, viral transmission. But most of it are vertebrates, pigs, bats, and those things do not. And this may be one of those things that make us look away as entomologists, that it doesn't concern us. Next slide, please. So, but within vector-borne disease, there is a triad. And you can see the host, the pathogen, the environment. And there's an interplay that makes us to see that, look, disease situation have 3 dimensions. When it is in a vector that transmits it, the host is affected, and the environment. And just as I said the other time, there must be an interaction between these components in order for us to have an effective and sustainable vector-borne disease control. And it's something that goes beyond individuals. And you see on the second slide, on the second bullet, you see Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development. And that's because quite a number of these vectors, they are breeding in the environment. Who looks at them and the environment, if not an entomologist? The focus is that when there's a disease situation, we look more at the medical profession. And yet we know that prevention is always what? Better than, what do we call it? Cure. So at the preventive level, how do we exert ourselves as entomologists? And so this affirms to tell us that, look, we need to resolve that the cross-cultural cooperation that's required, and entomologists need to do what? Play their role. I've been worked, next slide please. These are the global burden of diseases, and you would see those ones that insects are involved in. You see malaria, African trypanosomiasis, lymphatic filariasis, dengue fever. These ones are transmitted by mosquitoes, and we see those ones transmitted by ticks there. We see tsetse fly. This shows that vector-borne diseases, there are quite a number of them affecting us in the tropical part of this world. They are what? As a result of some of these vector. Now, next slide. Next, please. So, with the huge burden of vector-borne disease do we have a critical mass of well-trained public health entomologists? I call them the same thing as medical entomologists. Do we have that critical mass to influence vector control decisions. I've been opportune to work with them at the local government, the state, and also at the federal ministry. And oftentimes I found out I've had to work with people who have no background in entomology, but they have always seen entomology as, is it not insect? What is so special about them? The bulk of their intervention, they feel, lies more in the hospital. There was even a time we went to meet a VC, and we were talking about malaria. He said, insect. I know, Felix. What is it? What does mosquitoes have to do with malaria? That look, the bulk of the work they do in the teaching hospital, not in any department in the university. So they are not aware that there's a zoologist, there's an entomologist who can prevent, protect. So, and if we don't see ourselves like that, it's different for them to actually appreciate that. And so when you see from local government, state, and federal Ministry of Health, oftentimes it will be very difficult for you to find a trained entomologist, and that is where the decision for malaria control is being implemented in the country. So this is just a wake-up call to make us see that, look, there are opportunities, but how do we exert ourselves as well too, as to put ourselves in the stream of decision-making in the country? How do we position ourselves as a society to bridge this gap and provide solutions? How does the society prepare entomologists for careers in public health? Maybe because we do not have a BSc public health entomology. Maybe because when you train as entomology, if you don't end up in the, in research institute or as a lecturer, you hardly can find jobs. And those things are shaping how people work and where they work. So we know that as a society, we need to encourage this unit, considering the fact that we know the impact of this profession in controlling those vector-borne diseases that we have highlighted. If you agree with me that we have the burden of vector-borne diseases in the country, then what are our plans, what platforms have we floated to ensure that we have, I'm being careful, you could get a degree in entomology, but you may not actually have that training that helps you to make decisions. And except we create those things, it becomes difficult for you to contribute, and most times you're relegated to make you feel that, look, entomology is not the main thing. The main thing is chemotherapy, the main thing is pharmacology, the main thing is, it's like that. Next slide, please. So this is just a capacity building outcome we did some times ago, and we're trying to find out malaria vector surveillance control in different parts of the country. And so these were the people that applied. And we found out there were more people from the southwest of the country than the other geo-ecological zones. And we may be able to relate with some of these, with the outcomes that we begin to see in this presentation. Next, please. Now, we also looked at the previous access of those people that were shortlisted for that training. We were trying to find out how exposed they were when it comes to tools that is being used in public entomology. And we just said, what's your involvement with exit light traps? Exit light traps is a trap that is used in entomology, public health entomology. And if you look at it, most of them, do you understand me, said no. And if you look, no, can you bring that down, please? 5, 4, and can I look at this extreme side, please? Yes, this, where we have the total summation. Yes, okay. 100% of them have not used exit light traps. So if you have from within the universities those that were selected for the training and they have not used it, how do you want them to graduate in the outside there and be able to support? So we asked a number of other questions as well too, and you would see that the response was very low. And so this actually led us to see that, look, that training, that technique is not really within the curriculum that helps somebody to come out as a public entomologist. Next slide, please. So, next that's the, we went ahead to do a summary we tried to find out on a particular problem, which is insecticide resistance, to find out between 1956 and 2018 to see, let's see where we can get information. And we're able to pull those data. And we could see that even from 1970, apart from 1956, you see we have heat from northwest and southwest of the country. And that is quite explainable for those who are who are familiar with medical entomology. That there used to be a World Health Organization station in Kaduna, and there used to be another one in Lagos. And so those were the institutions that were driving studies on medical entomology. And by 2018, we have our incidences of people carrying out activities. So there's quite improvement. Next slide, please. Now, I try to look forward and look at the agricultural entomology and medical entomology. I was trying to deep and find out at what point, if you have entomology, why do you have a tilt that there's a preference for a particular entomology rather than the other? And there are two publications that I saw, Adeshiun 2015 and Balogun 2015. And next slide, please. And those things captured those influencing factors that influence career. And I see that this played a lot in where do you go when you go to study in school, maybe you study zoology. You are likely to be influenced, different perception of your role models, personality, interests or passions, taste of people you move around with, then your previous work experience, economic and social conditions, prevailing economic and social issues, then the financial aspect, that does he have money? Will I make money? Where will I get a job? I was, excited when I saw the quarantine, woman from quarantine coming to present. Those are few organizations that you can be able to point to and say, if I graduate as an entomologist in zoology, I can work with. So those things, when you have them around you, are likely, your professors are likely to influence you. If your professor is an entomologist, you are likely to drift that way. What I'm saying is that we need to create a culture that allows public health entomology to grow within the society so that we can have people who can contribute effectively to the vector burden that we are suffering in the country. Next. From those two publications, I saw that, look, there was a social interaction created by the establishment of the society, ESN. And two names featured, Department of Zoology, University of Ibadan, and Department of Agric Biology. And that's where it started. And I looked at the background of those founding fathers. I found out that they had passion more for agricultural entomology. Now, I don't have anything against that because I also passed through it. I'm a product of agric biology. My first degree was in agric biology. I left agric biology. I went to do my master's in zoology because I wanted to focus on insects of medical importance. So I'm a hybrid of the two, and that makes me very different. My perspective is very different from possibly, if I had been in agriculture, I would talk more about agricultural entomology. But we have a society here, and we have a body in the country. We need to cultivate that environment that helps people to find career and find fulfillment. Next slide, please. So in terms of institutions, I looked through. When I first graduated, I was like, where will I get a job? And I was like, there were institutions that were very impressive to me at that time. I've used the IITA library, and I used to dream that I'll become a scientist there because those environments, everything were there. I know I wrote unsolicited application to CREAM, NISPRI, IITA, forestry research, because they had units of entomology that I could relate with. And that's the role. But when you look at public health, you don't find too much around those places. And there are some institutions that came up, NITA, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, and in recent time we have the NCDC. But if you have taken time to look through, the only one I've not looked through is more of NITA. I wouldn't know if they are the critical mass of entomologists in NITA, because I know this trypanosomiasis. but something that helps us. We need to sit down as a society and look at all these areas and see how we can culture it very well so that we can solve the problem that we have in the country. Next slide, please. So in terms of need for public health entomologists, it is what is needed. We need it. We don't have a curriculum. There's no basic degree within public health entomology. And that's the truth. We need that because it's a specialized field. It's a field that helps you to understand the vector behavior, the ecology, for you to be able to make an effective decision. So I've said that within the local government state, I've found it difficult to actually come across people who are trained in those areas. Next slide, please. So in terms of what are the lessons from pandemic to medical entomologists, we know there's workforce replacement. We need to think ahead and create a platform for us to have public health entomologists. Then the curriculum is absent. We have academias here. What do we do about this area? Except we find out that it's not relevant. But with what we know in the country, we need, just go to the disease desk in the Federal Ministry of Health. It will be difficult for you to come across somebody. And if you're not talking about entomology, every other thing is curative, must look at the protection. How do you quantify the risk of transmission? It is an entomologist that should be able to quantify the risk of you living in a place. What's the risk of me staying in Agowoye compared to Lagos? Those are quantifiable risks. The entomological inoculation rate is calculated by our entomologists. And so if we are unable to quantify those things, how do we want to advise in the country? So these are things we learned. Those also, COVID made significant funding available. I don't think we should have COVID all the time. But the truth remains that we need funding even for this area as well too. Then in terms of digital deployment of tools, we need those things that helps you to be able to pick up data from the field and take it to where decisions are made. Those are the things we need to look into. So I'm raising this up because I know we have academia. I want us to think over it and see how we can make this work to improve the capacity and strengthen entomologists, public health entomology in Nigeria. Next. So in terms of strengthening efforts, I just quickly want to look at what PMI Evolve has been able to do. We have been able to train. We've been able to equip labs in several universities in the country and also to provide skills that helps them to do some basic things that can guide decision making so that they can translate such data and use it for decision making. Yes, next please. So this is just a collage of activities that are carried out. And this capacity is actually built within the university system where we have found those training to be lacking. Next. So these are the universities that we work with, about 16 of them, with 2 research institutes. Then we have the NLNG that we work with. They are on the drive for malaria elimination on the highland. So we provide technical support for them to be able to carry out those activities. Next slide, please. So we'll also be able to provide a guidance that helps the country to have a uniform protocol that helps them. So somebody who is working in Kaduna will be using the same protocol with somebody working in Bayelsa. And therefore, you can have results that can be compared together and make decisions. Because you recognize that because there is no central training, people use different protocols. And it's difficult to interpret that to make national decisions. So this is just one of those things that was carried out. Next. So we know what works in the country. We talk about nets. We know what insecticide works. And this has been possible because of ability to build capacities within university institutions. And therefore, you don't have to go around. You just get results from those people. And we have that map. And these are the possibilities that can be exploited and make entomology stronger in this country. Noise, you need to make noise about some of these activities. But if you don't own it, it's difficult for you to put this as part of the achievement So that balance needs to be created. We need to bring that component back and see how we can strengthen the society with some of these activities. Yes, please. Next. I think I'll move over. Yes. So, not only that we know what works, we know that one of the encounters I've asked questions, they've asked me that, what's the difference between mosquitoes in Kaduna and the ones in Ebonyi? But from those analyses, we can see there's a variation in their responses to different insecticides that are used in vector control. So it's difficult for you to just say, go and buy deltamethrin insecticide and distribute across the country. Because mosquitoes from those different parts of the country will respond differently. But this can only be done because you have someone who has been trained to actually generate that data. Next slide, please. And not only that we have those new nets. Maybe some of us don't even know that we have new nets. But we have a new net that is different from what was in use before. We used to have standard net that is treated with just one single insecticide. But today we have combinations. Deltamethrin with PBO. You have alpha-sapametrin with chlorphenipyr. Those are the results, those are the things that came out of these studies that was carried out across the country. Next slide, please. So we know that those things work. And we have been able to do an evaluation to see that those new nets were reducing malaria burden more than the standard nets. And this is just what we need to drive some of those things. What am I saying is that there's need for us to provide access to tools, to equipment, and also to provide training, provide a curriculum that can drive vector control in the country. And those are the areas that I want us to start thinking about next time. So if you look at this, this was just brought out of the evaluation. We'll see pre-PBO intervention and post. And you see that in terms of biting rate, in terms of outdoor biting rate, in terms of indoor resting density, when those new nets were introduced, it reduced significantly. And you will see that if these studies were not carried out, we'll just be using the standard net. And we'll just be doing, it's just a normal thing, let's just use it. Thank you. Next. So in tools now, next slide, we have data being collected right from the community. And you can begin to see it at the national level, where decisions are being made. These are the things that the PMI Evolve has been supporting the National Malaria Elimination Program with. So somebody collecting data from the field, that data can be seen by somebody at the Federal National Malaria Elimination Program. But the gap still remains in the fact that you need somebody who understands that data to be at those points to be able to make those decisions. So these are trainings that have been conducted to train people on the use of those digital tools. These are morphological identification skills provided, which is lacking. And you will see this gentleman was working in the community. You can see the mud wall just beside it. The collections is doing that identification there. So some of these, there are possibilities. There's things that can work. We just need to be able to drive all these activities. Yes, next. So we know what diversity of malaria vectors are in the country. Next slide, please. So before, we were not having much. But today, if you look at this map, in all those places where you have points, we have people who have been trained, who can support at that level. They can support the state in decision-making, generation of data. This is the power, this is the tool that I think we need to harness together and hone as a society. So compared to what we were having before, you now have 28 sites in the country where you have people that have been trained, provided with tools to actually support malaria this time around. So this can be replicated for some other vector-borne diseases as well too. Next slide, please. I think I'm rounding up, yes. So the concluding remarks, today several Nigerians are living in locations with unquantified risk. What is our role? How do we leverage on our strengths to support and identify entomology-related vector-borne disease risk in the country, coordinate and quantify those risks, also source of funds to do what? To implement training and to improve the skills of members. And most importantly, implement interventions that are evidence-based. Not just interventions that we think this is what will work, but introduce interventions that we have data, national data, data beyond, that goes across regions that can be able to meet the needs of specific regions within the country. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oduola. We appreciate your talk. Very beneficial. I'm sure a lot of us have taken a few points home. And I know you are going to have a number of questions you would like to ask Dr. Oduola. So kindly note down your questions so that when it's question time, you can ask those questions. Because of time, we will not want to ask the questions immediately. Now let's go to the next paper. The next paper is supposed to be delivered by Professor Agbide. Is he here? Is he here? Okay. The title of the paper is Achieving Food and Social Security Through Insect Science. Professor Agbide.
Yes. Professor Amana Onekotu is actually representing Professor Agbide, who could not be here. Of course, we want to read the citation of Professor Agbide, and that will be done. You stand up, yes. We'll still read it. Yes. By Dr. Mrs. Banjo.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I'm here to read the citation of Professor Francis Sawan Agbide. Professor Agbide was born to the family of late Mr. Peter Agbide and Mrs. Sarah Agbide, Queen of Mbayogo, Vandeka local government area of Benue State on the 15th of August, 1960. He obtained his first school leaving certificate from Roman Catholic Mission, Senior Primary School, Ugie Bagera Fangite local government area, and proceeded to Government Secondary School, Boko, Benue State, where he obtained GCE O-level certificate. So from his university education, he attended the University of Ibadan and obtained BSc in agriculture, agric biology crop protection option with second class upper division. He was at the University of Ibadan again from 1991 to 1992, where he obtained MSc in agricultural entomology. He obtained his PhD in forest entomology from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Ondo State, Nigeria in 2008. Working career. Professor Agbide has worked in many institutions, among which are agricultural science teachers and so on. He has contributed to the university community as the head of Department Forest Production and Products, University of Agriculture, Makurdi, and so on. Professor Agbide is a member of professional associations, which include Entomological Society of Nigeria, member Forest and Forest Products, Society of Nigeria, and so on. He has professional and national service as well. And Professor Agbide is married, is happily married to Mrs. Tabitha Agbide, and the marriage is blessed with children. I hereby present to you Professor Agbide. Thank you.
Where is he? That's the Professor Agbide you are presenting. I'm standing in for my dear friends who somehow, as he was preparing for this his twins got admitted in hospital, and they were been in hospital for about a week. They were just discharged just before I came. So he tried to scribble this together. I want to, my name is Amana Onekutu. I'm from the same university, and we're classmates. Now, achieving food security and food and social security through insect science. In the course of our program today, a lot of emphasis has been placed on entomophagy, and that's what this paper is about. And somehow, from our cultural settings, from our different backgrounds, entomophagy is well known, but somehow, I think it's not just been encouraged, it's not been given the needed attention. That's what this paper tries to encourage. The basic needs of man on planet is obviously food, shelter, and clothing, of which food is one of the most important, and this places a heavy responsibility on government at different levels. You need to follow this thing. We define food security and social security. According to 1996 World Food Summit, food security is when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences. Dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. While social security is a protection that the society provides for individuals and households, so as to help them have access to healthcare and to guarantee income security, particularly in cases of old age, unemployment, sickness, invalidity, work injury, maternity, or loss of a breadwinner. FAO has done a lot on entomophagy, and according to FAO, 2030, the world will host about 9 billion people by the year 2050. And this obviously creates a need for increased food production. Protein and other nutritional deficiencies are typically more widespread in disadvantaged segments of the society and during times of social conflicts and natural disasters leading to food and social insecurity. So protein deficiency is one main focus. Nigeria, a major sources of food, pork, beef, chevron, fish, poultry, and so on. But to address the challenge of food and social insecurity, there's a need to find alternative animal protein sources and other ways of growing food. That's where insects come in. Let's go. A lot of benefits can be derived from insects by man, and one of it is meeting our nutritional needs, because they offer cheap, efficient opportunity to counter nutritional and social insecurity. And they provide emergency food, improve livelihoods, and the quality of our traditional diet. And edible insects fit this perfectly. Let's go. So the practice of eating insects, as I said earlier, is known as entomophagy, and this started as far back as 7,000 years ago. And the earliest sighting, you and I know, is John the Baptist, who ate locust in the desert. Yeah. Let's go. Edible insects are a very important food resource, playing crucial roles in human diet, particularly making diet more balanced and palatable. Entomophagy is a food resource that ramifies both primitive and contemporary food traditions. And there's been an increasing scientific attention on entomophagy because of its importance in the context of food security, poverty alleviation, and indigenous knowledge, particularly among rural communities. It is highly influenced by cultural and religious practices. Cultures in which the use of insects as food is traditional, the insects are highly prized and much sought after, not just used to ward off starvation. They are incorporated as a regular part of the diet when in season or throughout the year if they are available. The proportionally small quantitative contribution of insect to diet compared with food or plant origin has been undoubtedly been dictated primarily by limited supplies rather than by any form of deficiency. Careful studies have been conducted, and a lot of it. Careful studies have been conducted, and the volume of insect consumed as a percentage of a total animal protein has been shown to be appreciated. In Colombia, South Africa, a lot of insects such as Gonimbrasia bellina. I think it's a moth, a very popular moth in Southern Africa. The mopane worms, and they are highly cherished and consumed there. Yes, let's go, my brother. So this paper focuses on one, the role played by FAO in promoting edible insect consumption worldwide. It lists the major edible insect species, how they are processed, the nutritional value, the social security that they provide, and the challenges that edible insect consumption, and the challenges faced in edible insect consumption. It also presents recommendations. As earlier said, FAO has done a lot in trying to promote entomophagy. And the contributions cover the following area: try to generate and share knowledge from different publications, arrange meetings, and FAO also has a web portal on edible insects. So FAO is also trying to raise awareness on the role of insects using the media. Excuse me. It has supported member countries through a number of field projects and also supported networking and multidisciplinary interactions with various sectors. Then, it's okay, let's go on. One major contribution, it's that of the Central African study, documenting the role of caterpillars. There's a lot of literature out there that try to document the role of caterpillars in Central Africa. One is a non-wood forest program, forest product programs of the FAO, which initiated a review in 2003 to describe the contribution of edible insects to diet. There are also 4 case studies and many other studies that were commissioned in Central Africa with emphasis on the Congo Basin. Then there is also the report on the contribution of forest insects to food security and the example of the caterpillars in Central Africa. Then there are also summary and conclusions of publication. Summary and conclusion on publications that were taken up in the Overseas Development Institute's Wildlife Policy briefing. Let's go. Then FAO was involved with the Chiang Mai conference in Thailand. It's the FAO regional office in Asia organized a workshop on forest insects as food. And the focus is how humans bite back. It brought together many world experts on entomophagy, and it focused specifically on science, management, collection, harvesting, processing, marketing, and consumption of edible forest insects. And the proceedings of the workshop were aimed to raise awareness of the potential of edible insects as a food resource. Yes, let's go. Then there is this Lao Technical Cooperation. It was between 2010 and 2013 where it implemented a technical cooperation project among the Lao People's Democratic Republic. The project is an immediate response to several interventions identified in the Lao People's Democratic Republic National Nutrition Strategy and National Plan of Action for Nutrition, which was finalized and endorsed in December 2009, and namely improving nutrient intake and addressing underlying causes. The project also focused on strengthening the existing role of insects as complementary food in local diet, giving attention to the role of traditional insect collecting in the wild, and enhancing sustainability of safety and efficiency of insect collection, preparation, post-harvest, processing, and consumption, as well as expanding insect farming. Yep. Then there is this FAOWR. I've been seeing this name. I've been calling it Wangeningen. I found that they call it Vajningen. It's a university that has been involved so much in agricultural research. The university, together with FAO, initiated a collaborative effort to promote entomophagy. First, there was a policy note. Then second, the note outlined the long-term strategies of the FAO. And two researchers and authors present of the publication worked at the FAO for several months, and they came up with a bibliography of who is who in entomophagy. The writing also presented publication. The writing of the present publication commenced along 4 edible insects, which were future prospects for food and food security, with preparations for conceptualization and holding an international expert consultation in January 2012. Let's go, my brother. Then there's this expert consultation meeting, also arranged by the FAO. 57 experts from international agencies, scientific institutions, and private sector stakeholders, together with staff from relevant FAO disciplines, were involved with it. Let's go. Then there is this FAO web portal, which has maintained, it's a web portal on edible insects, and it has been there since 2010. It's there. Let's go, my brother. Then, the common edible insect species consumed all over the world. A number of them we know we're very familiar with, but it's just that we have this mindset about them, so we don't really give them attention. I have some young people in my house. I was brought up to love termites. When you ask them to go and put water under light to collect, they'll be posing for you. But when you fry, they will eat. The issue of entomophagy is about mindset. You have a generation that insect, and that's ignorant, not knowing the nutritional value of insects. Most edible insects have protein level of more than 50%. More than 50%. Examples are the beetles, caterpillars, bees, wasps, and grasshoppers, locusts, crickets, and so on and so forth. Termite. Let's go. The most popular edible insect in the tropics is the palm weevil, Rhynchophorus. I want to believe that we know it. It's very fat larvae. Some eat it raw, but some process it. Then I've talked about the mopane caterpillar. Is Gymbracia. I think that's an error. Gymbracia bellina as the most popular in Southern Africa. Then we have Serena foda, which Professor Agbidie worked on. His PhD was on Serena foda. It's very common in Benue. I don't know which other states we can find it, but it's a delicacy in Benue. Let's go, my brother. And then we have termites and a number of others listed there. Yeah, next slide. As a protein source, caterpillars from butterflies and moths are consumed by several tribes across the world. Adedunton and Bada also reported the consumption of the larvae of the African silkworm by the people of Ondo State. Yes, let's go. Insects, the processing of insects. This actually depends on the people group, depends on a lot of factors. Some are fried, some are roasted, some are dried, they are smoked, depending on how the people like it. So no matter how crudely done, it helps in minimizing post-harvest losses. Processing remove toxins and help facilitate, because that freshness is not there anymore, they can easily be packaged. Yes? Akinowu, Abi? Akinowu, is that the pronoun correct? Reported that raw extract of Serena foda had toxic effect on rats compared to the processed one. Just to tell you the importance of processing. The unprocessed one was found to be toxic, while the processed one, it's not. They also reported that total serum protein and globulin levels were significantly higher in controls, and those fed processed extracts than those that were fed the raw extract. Let's go. Then the other reports by Agbidi and Nongo on how the chief people process their own. Then the trapped larvae are collected and stored in pitfall. The photographs are there. The larvae are parboiled and sun-dried for marketing. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah, this is, here, it's how it is processed in Benue. It is, there are this excavated pit at the base where they are trapped. From this pit are dug around the tree, and this larvae, they are trapped there. Yeah. Let's go. Next slide. The trapped larvae are in the pit. Okay. These are examples of the larvae trapped in the pit. Let's go. Next slide. Next slide. This is boiling of the larvae. They are sun-dried. Yep. Then let's look at the nutritional value of edible insect. That's quite important. This will help you and I to drive and to mofagi. They are very nutritious. The nutritional value is highly variable because of the wide range of edible insect species, metamorphic stage, habitat, and diet. For example, the composition of unsaturated omega-3 and 6 fatty acids in mealworms is comparable to that which you find in fish. And the protein, vitamin, mineral content of mealworms is similar to what we find in fish and meat. Let's go. Next slide. It is also important to know that insects are high in protein, energy, and various vitamins. The nutritional qualities are reported by Ajayi Adedidiri, and a number of them listed there. Crickets contain 9 essential amino acids. Crickets include, there's this part of Kogi, Ankpa area. They call it Ankpa chicken. It's it's found abundant there. They contain 9 essential amino acids, making them a complete protein source when compared to other forms of animal protein. Next slide. Some of them contain zinc, copper, iron, magnesium, calcium, manganese, phosphorus, and selenium. For example, Konkoni reported 50% crude protein in 40 insect species. Some, and the range, some can be as high as 82 Then the Dophalia reported that there is high zinc, thiamine, and riboflavin in Macrothermis and Rhynchophorus. He further reported that 100 grams of insect in each provides more than the daily requirement. Yes. Next slide. The quantity and quality of proteins, lipids, vitamins, minerals, and calories present in edible caterpillars are comparable. I think that point has been made. Are comparable to that of fish, lamb, pork, chicken, and so on and so forth. We can find as high as 70% daily protein in a particular insect. Yes, my brother, let's go. It's still the same point being made. Next slide. Now, insect and social security. Considering the popularity of edible insects, it is not surprising that the scores of species have been and are prominent items of commerce in our city. Many depend, when they're in season, as a source of, many depend on it and they market it. So it's a major commerce product in some part of Africa. Zimbabwe, South Africa, and so on and so forth. So we find that some get a lot of social benefits from it. Their means of livelihood depends on it. Let's go. Next slide. In the West African nation of Niger, it is not uncommon to find grasshoppers, not just even in northern Nigeria, where in Borno State in particular. In South Africa, we've talked about the Gonimbrasa, Bellina, the Mopane moth, and a lot of others. A lot depend on it. For as many as 5,000 times 50 kg bags of dry Mopane worms sell at a rate of 120 to 150 rand per gram, per 50 kg in some parts of Botswana. Next slide. The key point here is that a lot of it depends on it for their means of livelihood. In Mexico, it has been reported that food insects are not only prominent in the marketplace of the rural towns and villages, but some are sold in the finest restaurants. And a lot of it, as we've said, termites and so on and so forth, are processed here. Next slide. This is dried Serena fodder in the market. Yes, let's go. Yep, in the marketplace. Next slide. Yep, it's still in the marketplace in Boko, Benue State. This is a cricket. This is how it is sold in the marketplace. And within this period, a lot of parents send their children out to go collect them. And they make a lot of money from it. As of how many years ago, this was going for about maybe 500 naira per stick. I don't know what it is now. Yeah, let's go. These are termites. Next slide. Now, the challenges. Number one, identifying the correct edible insects. Number two is that there's a lot of habitat destruction, and we're losing a number of them. Next slide. Then there are also safety considerations. Indiscriminate spraying of insecticides, and you will never know what you are eating. There is also the challenge of limited supply, because they are seasonal. Then inadequate awareness of the benefits of edible insect. Quite a lot of people that talked about edible insects here today, you found out that they know these things, and they used to know it in their village. But not knowing that it can replace our edible protein. It can replace our meat, our beef, our chicken, and co, if it's given the needed attention. Let's go. Now, the point has been made that edible insects have the potential of addressing man's food and social security needs, nutritional and social. This is evidenced by the rich nutritional qualities of the vast species of edible insects that are consumed all over the world. It's very obvious that they have a high level of protein, for most of them above 50%. But the challenge First, as we earlier said, out of identification, supply, safety consideration, and a number of them that are listed. These challenges must be addressed before entomophagy will take its proper place in addressing the food and social food challenges of human development. A lot has been said. All of it, the recommendations are all tied to the conclusion. Issue of the challenge of deforestation, what can be done, establishing plantations to host edible insects, and a lot that are listed there. I think I've done the much that I can. God bless you. Thank you.
A round of applause for Professor Amana Onetkutu for that sound delivery on behalf of Professor Agbidye. I will want to do something now before we invite the last lead speaker, who is one of our newly inducted fellow. We want to take questions, contributions with regards to paper one, because the resource person will have to leave. He still wants to go to some other places. So after we have done that in the next maybe 5 or 10 minutes, then we cannot take the last paper, then and conclude. But to do justice to that matter is our chairman. Our chairman will just make 1 or 2 comments on the summary of what he has presented. Then if we have any question or contribution we can make on the paper one, identifying the gaps and strengthening the capacity of Nigerian entomologists for effective and sustainable control of vector-borne diseases. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Amana Onekutu, for presenting on behalf of Professor Agbidye. That was also another interesting subject, edible insects. Of course, you know, the point was made that at this time we need more of edible insects in view of the high cost of other sources of protein. Thank you very much. And like the LOC chairman indicated, we need to get your questions and comments with respect to the first paper, because the presenter will need to leave now. So let us do that in the next 5-10 minutes. So let's have your questions now.
I've seen number one, number 2, number 3, number 4. It's okay, we just stop there. 4. Just brief 1, please. Just comment within a few seconds, please. Not a lecture again, please. Number 1.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Udo Kawangu from the Oka Enugu branch. I want to thank Dr. Dola for the wonderful presentation. I also want to, it's more of a comment, because PMI has actually changed intervention, malaria intervention in Nigeria, to evidence-based intervention. I could remember, I think, please let us give them a round of applause. I remember a few years ago where net was just distributed in Nigeria based on just umbrella approach. Everybody, what the net is distributed. But now, across the country, it is based on what evidence generated locally from a particular location that determines what happens in that locality. So I think a lot of kudos to PMI. Thank you, Dr. Dola, for that. I want to say this, maybe not to you, but to the General House. Now we are talking about malaria vectors and malaria. But I know that in the presentation, I saw vector-borne diseases. where Nigeria is also endemic for a lot of arboviruses that are transmitted by the sister to Anopheles, which is Aedes, and it is spread across the length and breadth of this country. How can we support those working in that field of endeavor to ensure that we are actually looking at vector-borne diseases generally and not just that for Anopheles? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc, for your presentation. My name is Eze Gideon from Oka Enugu Abakaliki branch. My question is on the deployment of digital tools for data capture and analysis. I've been privileged to serve under PMI for at least 4 years as a technician. And from the experience, recently we had a meeting in preparation for NUC accreditation. And it occurred to me that in the department, they have only one dissecting microscope that is not too functional. So when the issue came up, just like the experience you had, you shared with us, of a principal officer in the university that said, why Anopheles, these things are done in the hospital, my head told me there are other microscopes. And I said, yes, there are, but for you to identify an insect properly, you need a dissecting microscope. It was at departmental level, I'm not in the team, that decides what happens at the end of the day. Now, having profiled such little solution, and you are not in the team that will deploy those equipment, what can be done to ensure that these digital tools, as simple as a dissecting microscope, can be brought in, bearing in mind that it doesn't come cheap? Thank you.
Thank you. Doctor is the country director. Before it goes, maybe we release 100 dissecting microscope to you.
Good day, all. My name is Dr. Emeka Sibu. I'm from Nigeria Cultural Quarantine Service. Mine is more like a comment or an observation. The speaker was talking about when there is a disease outbreak, that the first thing that comes to mind is the hospital, the medical hospital. So I just want to say that there's a change right now in that approach. There's one health concept whereby it's a tripartite kind of system where you have animal component, human component, and the environment. And I think the entomologists can key into the environment aspect of it by making themselves very much available there, because it's there already for any disease management right now. Thank you.
And the last, Madam, I'll come to you.
My name is Ronsi. I'm from National Arbovirus and Vector Research. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. Thank you so much, Dr. Odola. My own is like a kind of observation. When he was speaking, he actually identified gaps that some of us have also noticed, but it's not really clear. The lecture actually now made it clear. But one thing has always been coming to my mind before now. This is my first time in this gathering. Why can't we have entomologists as a cadre? From what it itemize, if you also listen very well, it's like the work of entomologists is being modeled up. If you study parasitology, zoology, or anything, the cadre that you'll be given in the Federal Civil Service or state is scientific officers. And what entomologist does, there is no any other person, irrespective of your background, or you intentionally come around to learn those things. So I think it is the high time the society should just come around together, know what that needs to be done, so that we could have entomologist cadre properly in the Federal Civil Service and the state government, so that the world of public health entomologists can be well recognized. Thank you.
Well, that's a suggestion. The communique drafting committee should note that. One of the suggestions that is being given. Dr. Duola is the country director, PMI Evolve. So he's going to attend to all those questions and some other ones.
Yeah, thank you very much. What can be done on vector-borne, other vector-borne diseases? Yes, I may not be able to support that, but this is just like something to stir up into thinking. And there's always a portfolio for every disease. If you can move closer to the federal ministry, there's a desk officer for a number of these vector-borne diseases, at least the ones that trouble us. But you know it's not that easy. It takes a lot of effort. That is it. Because over time, you've had a lot of limitations. And for us even to come to this point of training people who didn't have basic degrees in entomology, you know, we have come a long way. But we know it's something that is possible. So nothing is impossible. Just keep trying. Yes, on digital tools. Well, that's more related to the other question as well, too. They are expensive, but they are getting closer to us. You can't tell, even with your phone that you have with you, what it can do. It can do so many things as well, too. So as we learn more about it, we begin to apply some of those digital tools. Thank you for telling us about what you're using the microscopes supplied by the PMI for accreditation in the university. It's good, it's warming to the ears to get to know that. Thank you so much, sir, about the One Health thing. Yes, I did acknowledge that in there's a slide that I showed the triad environment as well, too. So it's good to know that the realization is coming on. But what we need to know is that if we are not aware of our position, then they can always push us back. But we need to understand that, look, when you are talking about vector control, the entomologists need to take a prominent role. But if you are not standing up to those things, that's just the way it's going to be. So thank you very much. I think I've been able to respond. Yeah.
Some other questions will be taken after we have taken the last speaker. You see, we are still going to have cocktail this evening, and we are almost 1 hour behind schedule. We ought to have started our cocktail by 5. This is around 5:30. So by the time we take the last speaker, then all other questions we can have. With this, I want to invite Professor Kehinde Kemabonta. And it's just incidental, not because I'm a member of OBUS. The one that came before Professor Amana Onekutu, one of the OBUS, this is another OBUS. Don't worry, I'll not tell us the meaning of OBUS. I'm also one of them, but they be brought up. So, and she's here, but because we have read her citation the other time, I'll just read the first paragraph to introduce her. We don't want to repeat the citation. Your time starts now.
Yeah. There's no need. Thank you. Can I have the system myself, please? I prefer it. Good evening once more. I want to appreciate every one of us for staying back. And I'm standing on existing protocol. You all know my name. They call me KK, Kehinde Kemabonta. The significance of insect science in healthy living. All protocols observed. We all know that the insect is really, really important. I'm going to talk to us practicals, enough of theory. How can you as an entomologist, you cannot bring 10,000? People are talking. People wouldn't do entomology and making the money for you. You go, the pest controllers, all the pests are, most of them are insects. Am I telling lies? Am I telling lies? But you're not there. In Pecan, I think we're only 2 of us that are entomologists. In HELCON, that's Environmental Health Officers Association of Nigeria, I'm not sure we're 2 or 3. Well, I saw 2 of my MSc students, and that's it. When you look at entomophagy, the people making the money were not there. And these are people who never had a smattering of entomology, but they are making the money. How can we practicalize this thing? How can they say everybody is bringing out 10,000, you dip your hand in your pocket and you throw out 20,000? I want to give us a story of how I started pest control. I was in NISPRI, and they come to me, the consultant. Oh yes, I'm the consultant. Any problem they have, I solve for them, and they go back. So one of the days, late Professor Coker now told me, KK, why don't you join us in Pecan? I said, I don't need it, sir. My husband is good, and I'm good. I don't need the money. Can you imagine stupidity? Sorry to use that word. But this man kept pestering me. Okay, come and start teaching us in Pecan. And I will go and teach them biology of insects. How can you control insects? These are all the things I was doing. That's what almost all of us are doing. And then one day, when I had issue with one company, I'm sure, Monsieur, you remember, Olagwaju, we were together, and we started. And before we knew what was happening, we controlled a big, complex problem. And that's how I started things that we call pest management until today. We can't continue like this, my people. Some people say they've not eaten insects. How many of you have eaten beans? Beans, cowpeas. Oh, Prof, you have not eaten. Oh, Calosoprucus maculatus, we eat it there. And we enjoy it. In fact, that thing in those days, the small young ones will put them at the size of the plate. But now you will use your hand. If you are using hand, it's Calosoprucus maculatus. So either you like it or not, we are all eating it. Even in Agbalumo, this cherry, when you pull it, it's the larvae of the mosquito, is it the fruit fly that you are taking? But it's so sweet. I said, so sweet. It's the larvae. So we're all eating it. If you've not eaten esusu, you have eaten Calosoprucus. Okay? We all know what an insect is. We know what makes them successful. I don't want to go into that. And then we know they have varying characteristics. Some of them are very bold, as we are. Some are very beautiful. I saw a lot of beautiful and handsome entomologists. Why some are ugly? Even this beautiful fruit fly, she's beautiful, but she's nasty. Okay? Healthy living. Can an entomologist live a healthy life? Is it possible to sit down with your family and be eating popcorn, or you carry your children to the gym and you guys start playing? Is it possible to go to the park? Is it possible you take your daughter-in-law, your daughter, and you guys sit down and you're having fun? It's possible, but it's not easy. Am I talking to somebody? Is it when you are thinking of the school fees you want to pay for the child that you now start thinking of sitting down at the park? Even when they say, Daddy, let's go to the park, I say, to do what? Even to go to the cinemas now. It used to be 2,500. Now it's 5,000. They will take pizza. They will take shawarma. Okay? And then you will watch the film. You sit down there. By the time 5 of you go, you have spent nothing less than 30,000. Now. So where is the 30,000 when you are looking for school fees? And you are thinking of what to do? It's not there. Okay? So health is a state of complete physical, mental, or social well-being. I wonder how many of us are really having such things. In fact, the one that is happening now is not physical, it's mental. It's mental. Depression, oppression, you're tired. The child comes today, Daddy, where's my Indomie? He said, it's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow he won't sleep, he's waiting for you. Daddy, you promised me Indomie. That's for the younger ones. The senior ones, the school fees. Everything keeps increasing by the day. Can an entomologist live a healthy life? Well, I just want to tell us it's good we have water or tea. At least take 3 bottles of water. That's part of living healthy. Reduce sugar. Don't take sugar if possible. The older you get, the more natural you should go for. I go for the natural all the time. I take tea, coffee sometimes, but water. Nothing less than 3 bottles of water. People were asking me, why is your body fresh? I don't eat anything, no. I just make sure I take water, at least 3 bottles of water. I do a lot of exercise. I eat cucumber, I eat carrot. If it's there, if it's not there, water, I don't play with. So let's practice those things. Okay? Now, achieving a state of healthy living necessitates the presence of essential food resources, gainful employment, stable financial source to procure these vital food resources. We know what is happening. Inflation, removal of SWEP subsidy has affected us in diverse ways. There's a significant increase in cost of living. Now, the rice you used to buy 25,000, end of last year is now 50-something thousand now. And there's increase, even house rent has increased. School fees has skyrocketed. Everything is increased, but salary has gone down or is stable. Some of us are even retrenched. When the worker, the boss can no more pay, he asks you to go. And so that is it. Civil servants, I'm told some states have not been able to pay salaries for some time. Can you hear me? Alaja, can you hear me there? The lady there, very good. So, workers are retrenched on a weekly basis, and it's becoming a problem. How can we evaluate the role of insects in the alleviation of these challenges? I would have loved to talk on all these beautiful and ugly creatures, but they are good and necessity for us. But we don't have the time, so I will try to rush. We all know, we have heard insects as food. They've told us that they are keystone species. But there's something I want to tell us about the termites. I went to Okomu Forest with my students, and I saw these termite mounds, different colors. 20 minutes, Abba Oma told me. Thank you. Termite mounds, different types, different colors, like this one here. Yeah, can you see the cursor? It has different patterns. You have them there. And I've been wondering, why are they like this? The one here is different from the one there, and it's different. One is completely mud. This one has different colors. This one has some shining things. And I remember when I went somewhere in around Gulf in Aja, when I saw a lot of termite mounds. I was working on termite then. I had to stop it because we had nobody to identify the termite species for us. That's about 11 years ago. Nobody. Professor Malaka had retired, and he told me he didn't even know where his books were. Abroad, they told us these are African termites. We don't know them. And so I had to stop it. But what I noticed was that all these termite mounds were different shapes, different colors, different patterns. Only for me to do some research. And then somebody came and said, I saw you have done some work on termites. Can we collaborate? Do you know anything about termites? I said, termite? I said, well, I've done the species diversity. He said, and he left me. It was later I learned that there are a lot of minerals, essential minerals, just by the color and the pattern of the termite mound. There's something inside. Dig it in. How many of us know that? Dig it in, and you find nickel, cobalt, a lot of these precious things there, which we don't know. Is a niche. You can start it. Look for collaborators. Many people are looking for how to spend their money. These IT guys, and they don't even know who to go to. Look for them. Start it somewhere. You'll be dazed. And when you start making money, don't forget me. Oh, I'm your big sister. Pollinators, we all know this aspect. And we heard what happened. They told us how pollinators, the billions of dollars that we make. And of course, if it's billions of dollars, then it's trillions of naira. The honey and the beeswax. You meet Professor Yerinde, he's a group. Please stand up for recognition, sir. He's done a lot. I enjoy his honey. He has beautiful honey. Meet him later. Don't let him go. Okay? Now, we also look at the silkworm. I remember sometime, sir, there was this man in Ibadan who was doing some work on, I think he's retired now. Can we revisit it? Can you look for somebody, maybe one of these guys who are into money, make a special silkworm material for him or her, and then tell the person, this thing costs this, help me, we do the money together. I take 50, you take 30, 20 we use for production. He wouldn't mind, because all he needs is just for him to wear it, and that is it. Before you know what is happening, you start minting money. We have to move forward. We have to think out of the box. People are making the jet fighter with the shape of the insect. They are making the drones using the dragonfly. When I went for a conference on odontology and I saw some engineers with us in US, I was asking them, what are you doing in odontology? By the time they told me how they use the way insects, the dragonflies, catches things into air, they use it as drones and showed us the structures. Is it even the ants that they are now using in a computer? A lot of things. We can collaborate with them. Look for these people, they are there. Do a lot of reading and tell them, I'm an entomologist, I can do this. Can we work together? And of course, look at this one, the 6-legged robots. How would you have believed that they used this type of insect to get this structure? Even in forensic entomology, one of my students who just had a smattering, masters, we traveled together. I love carrying my students along. I love mentoring. We went to US. We got to US, I told her, you will come back, oh, no spoil my name. Came back and went back. So she now went to the force and told them that they were talking, and she said, I happen to have a smattering in forensic entomology. That's how she told me. She said she turned the thing. She didn't speak like a Nigerian. It's an Igbo girl. He said, forensic entomologist. He said, yes. He said, take this book. Can you go read it? Come back. How long do you want us to give you? So you come back and do an exam. Of course, in America, they give you a book to read. Nigeria, you go finish all the book for brain. The girl cram everything, go back. She's in the force now, and she's doing very well. Doing very well. Let's use what we have. It's your hands. Use your hands. Insect as medicine. This aphrodisiac that they do in China is the blister beetle. I found that, I've not seen Dr. Jumoke, is she here? In AGB. Now they have a lot of blister beetles in that insect, is it insect? They say it's not insect museum, but insectary or something. Okay. Now this blister beetle is able to produce cantaridin that you can use to make men who are not meant to be men. A man that is said to not to be a man, this cantaridin, this beetle here, this blister beetle will turn the man to become a man. He becomes a real man. Yes. We don't need to use it as aphrodisiac. Yes, they open him out. This is our own. But the people will use them for us. Like the mosquito, Dr. Oduola has gone. There is no malaria without mosquito. Agreed? So, when they start talking is parasitology, is this, is that, I just ignore them. But you know, as he said, we need to go back. I am proud of that guy. He made sure the people he put in his team are entomologists. Very few others. He called me and said, Auntie, I can't even find many entomologists. Where are we? And we sit down there in this class, we sit down there looking for jobs, and they will give you 100,000, and you're happy you're collecting 100,000. When people are using what you should use to make 1 million naira. You are struggling with 100,000. I want to challenge us. We need to think out of the box. Entomopaleontology, that's the latest now. They found that there are some insect parts. We found insect parts in the air. Not only the pollens, we found insect parts in the air. So, could these insect parts be the cause of asthma? Can it be? We don't know. So can somebody go into that? God will look at people who have done it, work with them, and then you now start to live healthy. It becomes part of you, and people will be wondering, how are you doing it? But please, don't hoard your knowledge. Help your brother, help your sister. That's what I'm doing with us now. Think out of the box. Create your own niche. Collaborate with others outside your profession. Now, I want to advise us. Don't just write. Look for somebody who is a little bit acclaimed. What I mean is he's known internationally. Work with that person here first. Like when I wrote somebody on dragonflies, he referred me back. That's why it's paining me Professor Ogbogu is not here. He's my mentor in ecology and conservation. He referred me back to Ogbogu. And I went to Ogbogu. Ogbogu referred us, me and Adu, to go to South Africa. We went to South Africa. They challenged us, go and look for funds. I told them there are no funds. Look, all the work we did in odontology is the money we got. We applied funds, we got the funds, and we did the work. So you need to start with your own people that they know. Then move out with them. It's important. I'm going to talk on 3 things, but the last one has already been talked about, so I won't go into that. But odonata, bioindicators, biomonitors of ecological health. What is odonata? We all know it. Dragonflies and damsel flies. The Yoruba people call it lami lami. I don't know what the Hausa people call it. Where is Prof? I don't know what they call it, and I don't know what the Igbos call it. The dragonfly, what's the name, sir? Yes. Bandia, where is he? Huh? Dankwa? I can't hear you, but you've heard him. You've heard him. Dankwa? Dankwa? Yes. Okay. I know it's not Dankwa. Okay. Oh, something Rua? It's okay. You understand what he's saying. So we all know it. And one day I was talking to somebody, I said the water here is a little bit muddy. I don't have to see the mud because I can see the dragonfly. The dragonfly you have in certain places tells you how clean or how dirty the water is. When our colleagues came from Germany and Netherlands and went to Cross Rivers Forest, when they got there, they were drinking water from the bottles. They were boiling their water. But when they saw one particular damsel fly, they stopped boiling their water and they drank the water from the stream. They drank the water from the rivers, and there was no problem with any of them. Why? Because there's water there. How many of you are from there that know you have good water that you don't even need to treat? We don't know. So it's just for us to use this, practicalize this our knowledge, and stop carrying theories about. Now that kind of water, when you go there and you ask people to work with you together, thank you. You ask people to work with you, people who really have this money, I'm telling you the truth. You will be so happy eventually, because that water now, you don't need to do anything. You just need to start packaging and money comes in. Or you get your source from the water and then packaging it. We've done a lot of work on dragonflies and damsel flies. In fact, we have over 350 species right now with us. I remember when Professor Idowu came as an external examiner, and the student told him that she had over 100 and something species. He said, it's not possible. Unfortunately, I was not around then. I would have told him we even have more than that. You know? So that's how far we have gone. We got a lot of grants. Now, I want to talk about this student, EPA. We've been looking for Serragon citrinum. This is the male, this is the female. The male carries the female to lay the eggs. Now, we've been looking for this for over 48 years. This boy came, we challenged him, myself and Professor Ogbogu. Professor Ogbogu was doing his sabbatical then, and this boy looked at the space, looked at the latitude and the longitude, and went to Sumoge village. He found Cereagron citrullum. In fact, the people outside Nigeria refused to believe us. They had only one, but we had several. So when they saw this particular one, they were dazed. Do you know from that single grant, the young man got another grant that took him back to do citizen science, look for the chief, explain to the chief. He got another grant for equipment for his pictures because the pictures were not good. He got another grant, and then after he's done all that, he now told them he's going into butterfly. They gave him grant. Just recently, we traveled to Cyprus. They sent him to Cyprus free of charge, took care of him, gave him food, and eventually, this young man came out. Zirnako. Okay, thank you. Now, this young boy, I tell you the truth, status changed. He was owing me some money when we were going to Cyprus. He said, "Ma, take your, is it 200 pounds?" He just gave me like that. I said, "Where you get money?" He said, "My grant has come." He didn't steal, neat job, but he did the job very well. He did it himself. Instead of getting maybe 4 or 5 people, he went alone. Isaac knows him. And this young man is now enjoying another grant to do butterfly, what is it called, conservation, in that same Sumoge village in Omo Park. These are beautiful ones we got there. And how far can we entomologists go in advising the government on the ecological health of our waters in Nigeria? Can we go to the government and tell them? We have been able to do for now, Lufasi, NCF, Omo Resort, University of Lagos. But how far can we go? Can we have a team that will go and advise the government, and the government will listen to us? Thank God we have a lot of VCs now. Very soon we will have ministers. Very soon we will have governors. Put your hands together. I know it's possible. By the time we have them, they have been with us, they've heard of it, they can call us. Let's start something. Okay, pollinators and ecotourism. We have butterflies. We did some work on that, trying to get the butterfly garden. And then recently we are working on the bee garden. And it's really coming up. We've got some research grant. We've done the work. This is the garden. This is during the dry season. And we had a lot of things. But what we realized is that our native plants are not found anywhere with the horticulturists. They call them weeds. The tridax that we all cut away, if you have more than 7 species with the tridax, more than 7 species of butterflies. Can we tell these people, like in Omo, they are looking for somebody to do a garden? Can we tell them we can do the garden? Let's challenge ourselves. We do this garden, get people to come. The VC is there. You are working with him as an entomologist. Tell him to give you a space. Professor Lawal is here. Tell him to give you a space. He knows the VC very well. Before a VC can come and sit down for hours, there must be a relationship. If there's no relationship, he won't come. He came. Meet him. There are lots of lands here. Get a small garden. And tell the school, I will take so percent when this thing is established. Have a written thing. Get a lawyer to do it. And then as they come, you go and invite students from other places. Though this is a little bit of a remote area, but I know there are schools there. They'll come. Start it in your own area too. We are ready to help. We are ready to give helping hands. Though we have not gotten there, but we have started. And we were able to rear, you look at the beautiful ones. These are the ones we got from Cross Rivers Forest and some from Unilag. You can see people here on excursion. They came to see the garden. This was during dry season, you know. And then we've been able to rear these butterflies. So conservation is important. The bee garden, we also found these 3 major plants so far. There are still more. But these are weeds. So if we can plant these weeds around in an area, can we have the bees come for Professor Yerinde? And then what is the quality of the bee? I mean the honey. We have talked so much about the black soldier fly. I'm not going to talk on that. But please, it's a gold mine of wealth. Though they've not been able to, somebody said it was for seasonal. We're trying to see how we can have it all through the year. We've not been able to do that because we had some sabotage on our work. And for me not to have blood pressure, I decided to chill. After spending maybe 250,000 to 300 on a project, and you've gotten the first phase, you are going to the second phase, you just get there and find everything dead. What do? And I have BP issue. I just turn my back and I close the door. But you know, we can still revisit it. Let's not leave all these things. We can make our money ourselves. Then pest management consultancy. It's unfortunate that the people who are in pest management, especially during that COVID period, disinfection and so on, there are people who know nothing. One of my friends called me and she said, what did she study? Accountancy. I should come and teach her how to do pest control. And that's what they're doing. And they're making this money. And we're there sitting down in the school, sitting down in research. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's wrong to do research, but add a little more to it. Where you are okay, your husband is cool, so you are cool. But we have those who maybe the husbands are not cool, or the wives are not cool. So it may not be that easy. So let's see what we can do to add to it. Be a member of the PECAN, Pest Control Association of Nigeria. Be a member of ELHORCAN. That's environmental health officers. They have different segments, but they have the aspect of pest control there. I happen to be a member. And a big member, a specialist for that matter. So when I go, I'm a big shot. They give me an honorarium to go to attend the conference. They give me an honorarium, I sleep in a good hotel, I eat good food, I travel by air, and I go back because I'm an expert. We're all experts. Let's make use of what we have. I'm an advocate of integrated pest management. I want to talk, Dr. Oduola was talking about the net. Okay, he said I should conclude. So I'm concluding. Now, we just need to know where we are and work on our niche. Let's form our niche and work on it. Unfortunately, my paper, my presentation was for, that's why I said, next time, don't put me in this kind of thing again. No. I don't want it. If I prepare for 30 minutes and you ask me to stop after 15 minutes, it's not good for me. But I'll leave you because we are from the same father. Okay, so government and private industry should provide funds for us. Education on the importance of these insects is very, very paramount. We can start to have some, maybe, let's start from secondary and primary and secondary schools. Then an enabling environment that supports insect rearing and farming should be encouraged. We've talked about edible insect. That woman told us, neatly make foreign exchange. You make $1,000 is 1 million naira. Can you imagine? Then $5,000 is 5 million naira. By the time you buy your land, people will be wondering, he go thief. Now yahoo, they no say na black soldier fly bring the thing for you. Let's make use of it, please. Remember, all fingers are not equal. But 5 fingers are brothers, but they are not equal. If you are interested in all these aspects, we have the mosquito group. Oduola is there. Odontology is being headed by Professor Bogu. Entomophagy, Professor Lawal is into entomophagy. Forensic, Dr. Alafia. Pest management, I'm good in it. Beekeepers, Professor Oyerinde. Lepidoptera, we have a Lepidoptera group now. I'm a member of the ESA Lepidoptera group, Odontology group, Black Odontology group, women in entomology. I'm also a member, I'm not a member of the mosquito group. Oduola is there, you can join him. Then there's this insect monitoring team on climate change. If you are interested, talk to me. We'll see how we go. You see, you may not make the money now, but be known. Like that young man. The The money was not there initially, but the guy is known now. They call him everywhere, and he goes, and they come to meet him. They come to collaborate with us. They find it easy to do because you have done some projects and you did it well and you did not misbehave. So let's form groups. In ESN, mosquito group, I noticed, where's our president? There's no general entomology in that group. Are we saying there are no general entomologists? Yes, so let's have them. What about ecology and conservation? Let's have people in it. We need it. If not, they will go and we will lose them. They are entomologists. So, when you form your group, sincerity, accountability, teachable heart, trustworthiness. If you find you're in a group and it's not doing well, leave them and look for another one. There are many groups that you can join in. Now I throw this to us. Those who felt they knew too much 20 years ago, where are they today? I joined ESN 35 years ago. I was a young girl. Professor Georgina would say that she was my big sister then. We have the same supervisor. And we made some presentation. Where are they today? Most of them are gone. Full of life, vibrant. But what did they leave? Now I throw to us, where will you be in 20 years' time? How many of you would you have produced? What happens to your knowledge then? Will you still be remembered? Will you still be appreciated? All of us still appreciate our late mentor, Professor Debbie, because of his impact in our lives. As lecturers, as directors, in your places of work, are you a good mentor? Are you helping the younger ones? Can they appreciate you 20 years after you leave the place? Food for thought. For the students, avoid distractions, have mentors, and be very focused. In summary, we have seen insects as medicine, cosmetic, raw materials, and so on, and even that they are antibiotics. Acknowledge these people who have been so magnanimous in several projects that I headed. They were there for me. Thank you. And I dedicate this work to God. I'm not finished, 3 minutes more. And to my sister, Felicia Taiwo Shoboale, the pharmacist, for the great role she played in my life. I appreciate her. I want to appreciate all the Debbie brought-ups. I thank you all. The names are there, several of you, all these associations. I thank you. The PECAN members, all my senior colleagues, and the younger ones that are here. If your name is not here, it's in my heart. Don't worry, I still love you. I want to appreciate my veteran mentors, late Professor Debbie, Professor Aifawale, and it pains me, Professor Ogbogu has gone to have some rest. I want to sincerely appreciate him. I thank all my students who were with me, and I thank all my collaborators, over 75 of them. For Dr. Alafia, Professor Babarinde, all of you, I say thank you. Professor Adu, and then my family, I appreciate them. I thank my husband for bearing with me, and this is the me of many, many versions. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
What else can I say? When she asked us how many minutes do I have for this presentation, I said 25, 30 minutes. I said, what do you want me to say? But I'm happy within 30 minutes she was able to say a lot. You can imagine if she presented this within 30 minutes, how her inaugural lecture would have been. So once again, congratulations, madam, and thank you. We appreciate you. At this junction, madam, you still come back, my Prof KK, and Professor Amana. I used to call it one kutu, but I think it's Onekutu. I used to look at that ONE. I said that ONE is one kutu. Can you please come around here so that the chairman of the session will summarize what has been presented, and if we have our colleagues here that have comment, question, and the likes, we can take it. Do you have Professor Amana here? Prof, sir. Briefly. like I said initially, we are still going for cocktail, and the light can go off at any time. So let it be brief. Like I said, not another lecture. If we have any comment, let's just make our comments briefly. Once again, we want to say thank you to our presenters.
Thank you very much, Professor Ken Abonta. That was a very brilliant presentation, very motivating, very challenging. You have challenged all of us here to see what you can do so that we can enjoy healthy living. Thank you very much. It's now time to have your questions and comments. Maybe just five questions / comments from the audience for Professor Ken Abonta. So, one, two questions, no more.
Is that 2 or 3? Let's start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are 5. Let's start with 1.
What are Agbide? Yeah, the question now for him.
The question, general question. The question can be directed.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. I just want to throw more light on 1 or 2 things about what was said. I want to combine the two so that it won't be waste of time, you know.
All right.
Now, the first one is the lecture by Omana. I think if I'm correct. My name is so I think that the title of the work talks about food security. And I look at food security as not only the issue of entomophagy. Because I just think of a situation where, for instance, if you work on the soil, when you are looking at soil ecosystem, and then you find out that the food production probably is not as high it used to be. And then as an entomologist, you try to look at it. Does it not affect food security? Now, if it does, what is the role of entomologists in that situation? So, to explain that, I just feel that it shouldn't be a question, but to just say a kind of trial that we have made. I come from an area where anthropogenic activity has actually affected soil ecosystem. And then we find out that the biodiversity of soil organisms, especially insects and mites, are drastically reduced, and it affects the functional diversity of that particular soil. And so, as entomologists, we thought of something, and that is what I want to say, a kind of joining with what the last lecturer gave us. What do you think out of the box? So what we did was to introduce insect frass and the poultry waste, and we find out that insect frass combination with poultry waste increase the biodiversity of soil organisms, especially organisms that has to do with creation of currents in the soil for distribution of nutrients. And I tell you, we tried to market it a little bit just to advertise it, and a lot of farmers came to purchase it from us. That's just my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Number 2. Thank you, sir, for that comment and contributions.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the presenters. To us, the young ones, it has been very inspiring listening to you. I heard of PECAN and I heard of another organization, man. Please, we are here, please, I want to know the modalities for registrations, that if possible, and who is in charge, so that we can get ourselves involved in some of these organizations. It will help us to grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 3. Let's make it faster. We want to leave this place before the light is taken.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Professor Kemabonta, let me thank you again. I wish all lecturers were like you. Unfortunately, permit me to say that I have a colleague who is a PhD student, and we were able to identify somebody who has that exposure out there. And the person just said, can I be a co-supervisor to this student? And the supervisor said, no, I don't need anybody to co-supervise. Think about the quality of work and the rest of them. And that was why I was so happy when I saw this. These are faces of your students, and I feel so touched by this. Thank you very much. I hope we can leverage the strength of the society for further collaboration, because some of us have some level of expertise. Thank you.
You're welcome, eh? Number 4.
I would like to do a form of appreciation. Thank you so much, Ma. God will bless you.
Amen.
For opening our eyes. You will not lack.
Amen.
Your children will not lack. I will say that I'm glad to meet you. Even though I'm a member of PECAN, the word of entomology is still new to me, even though having a background in zoology. So, initially I was trying to mirror the two together. I've been a vector control officer for some time, but I couldn't really see what is the relation. But having come to this place today, having opportunity to listen to you speaking, thanks so much, Ma. My interest also will be in insects in the hair. God will bless you.
Amen.
Thank you, Ma.
Let's take the last comment or contribution, the 5th person. The last comment.
Thank you very much, Professor Kemavonta. Identification of termites. You know very well that my master's and PhD was on termites. Why didn't you come to us? That would have helped. Thank you. Then, on mosquitoes, we have been doing a lot of work on mosquitoes around. Maybe we consider application of sterile insect technique. Right now, IAEA has come up with a nice procedure of controlling mosquitoes. It has been applied in Panama and some countries, and there was almost eradication. Thank you.
Thank you. Sterile insect technique, that is it. You want to start sabotaging the reproductive potential of a male insect again.
Thank you very much. I'll start from Vincent. Fortunately, I have many of my classmates here that we were all together in agric biology. Monsieur is there, Olagbaju, Vincent, we were all in the same class, Amana, many of us here. Now, if you remember, Vincent, you were the #1 person I went to. You told me you are more into control than taxonomy. You now asked me to go and meet somebody. So I asked my student to meet somebody in your lab. And that guy, we found he didn't even know it. So he had some that he had named, but the names were not really accurate. So he now told me that he wasn't an expert in it. And when you want to publish a work internationally, you don't want to guess. So I called you again and told you, you forgot. I'm talking about 11, 12 years ago. And then that was how we finished the whole thing. Before we now started, then I had to stop the work. But what I'm saying is, I know there are lots of people now in termites, but my mind has gone off it. You know, it happens that way. Number 2 was the young man that spoke. I agree with you. Many people are like that. Now, I can't ask the boy to leave, the young person, to the student, to leave that supervisor and look for somebody else. But let him look for somebody who has a broad mind. I tell you, people who do molecular work heard it. I traveled with my students to China, and we did this work. At a stage, they stopped teaching us because they said, what we learn in 3 years, you guys have learned it in just 3 weeks, and you want to continue, we are no more teaching you. That was the level we went because we didn't sleep, me and my student. We now brought our work for analysis, interpretation. We analyzed, we needed somebody to interpret to us. My dear, it took us some years before we got somebody. And one of the lecturers told me, you think I will teach you these things free? He told the girl, I have to be a course supervisor. She came to me, I called Professor Makonjola. Professor Makonjola says, it's okay, let him join us. We don't mind, the more the better. You know? But eventually, he still didn't teach the student. Then we got somebody else from Ibadan. This person helped us, taught her how to interpret, because if you cannot interpret well, you are nobody. Taught her how to interpret, did everything with her. They did it. They stayed in my house for 2 weeks. The young man and the lady, they stayed in my house and she learned the thing. And then, of course, we put his name. No free food, even in Freeland or Freetown. Put his name there in our publication. But the joy is that she has learned. So let me tell you what happened. Even me, I did work on Calosoprucus maculatus. The person that was giving my work to read was a physiologist. He failed me. He hold me on Calosoprucus maculatus after working for 19 years in history. He gave me 60-something or 50-something %. It was horrible. And he's one of us. Why? He's a physiologist. He was looking at me, not working on the larval stages of Calosoprucus maculatus. It's an internal feeder. So I couldn't have done that. But he felt I should have done it. Now, if you do that, what do you call that experiment? Destructive experiment. And that was it. So look for people, as we said. I'm happy Odwola said it. We work together. Now, when they ask for reviewers or examiners, you know the people in your field. They will give you good mark and you move ahead. Remember, the university can never ask you to bring your paper for promotion if you are not qualified. So if the university says you should, and you bring out the names of people who don't know anything in your field, you're on your own. Then finally, PECAN, EHOROCAN, Environmental Health Officers Council of Nigeria. Now, I can't say all because everybody is not interested in PECAN. Everybody is not interested in pest management. But those who are interested, I've put my number there. Text me. And then I can now tell you what to do, how to register, how to be a member. And then we can have some trainings. If I have to train them, how won't I train my own people? In fact, I volunteered myself to be the head of the training for some years because I realized they were doing no rubbish, and this, especially the German cockroach, was getting resistant to all the chemicals. And my fear was eventually there will be no result. So, and I had to start teaching them so as to avoid resistance of those insects. So, that's it. Thank you, sir, for the result you brought up. It's a good one. So, it's an additional thing we can do. You made some money from there, right? Yes. So, let's see how we can make this money, please. Thank you. I'm not started, though. I'm just starting small, but I will get there one day.
I know Professor KK very well. We are from the same father, she said it. If I untie her and allow her to continue, we may not leave here tomorrow. That's why I have to do that. Let me call another person from the same father. Can you come here, Professor Amana, whether you have something to say?
Yeah. Actually, if you look at the introduction of that work, it's just the role of insects. Not as if it's about how insects constitute, or from insects that you can be socially secure. No. It was just a contribution of insects to social security. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to sincerely appreciate the chairman.
Yeah, 1.5 minutes. There's something I wanted to tell us. You know Ori, the shea butter. I've forgotten the Hausa name. Now, where you, huh? Kadenya. So, you go to the house, you go to the market, you want to buy it, it's 100 naira. Opoju. That's too much, 100 naira. I'm not sure you can get a small one, that one that they tie in nylon. I went to Blenco in Lagos. Guess how much it was? 650 naira. Small one in a container. It has a name, number, packaging. So let's make sure whatever we're doing, like this, all these cricket, I know of a student, one of Professor Lawa's students is working on cricket. If you now want to start selling it, package it well. Look for money. You use money to look for money. And you have many students. Use your students. Most of our people have jackpot, so you have more students that you are supervising. Use them. I'm not saying you should exploit them and take a lot of money from them. No, use them to do this work and teach them how to make money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sincerely, I want to appreciate everyone. Let me start by appreciating the chairman of this plenary session. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate how you shared the session. We want to appreciate the rapporteur. Thank you very much. Then the presenters. Please, highly recognized. Then the audience, please clap for yourself. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of us. It has been a long day, busy time for us. And my fear is, I've been telling Professor Shipiton that if they should put off the light now, to put on the gem might be very difficult for us because of the rain. Please, what can we do to quickly just run it off? I want to make this announcement before we go. Tomorrow, we are going to have 4 technical sessions, and it has been put on the platform. The groups of it, we had already put it on the platform. We have 4 technical sessions, and we want it to go almost at the same time because we have series of activities tomorrow again. We have AGM, and during the AGM, we still have some activities that we need to do. But make sure, please and please, come on time tomorrow. Let's start the technical session by 9 a.m. and we'll be able to do justice to all the paper being presented. And at the same time, we have put it on the platform that if there is anyone that wanted to do virtual presentation, such person should indicate. But I tell you, it is not for free. There's no free lunch in Freetown. At least we had that today. So, the person should register. In case you have 1 or 2 friends, please tell them they have to register. And we are moving out now to the cocktail stand. So, vehicle will convey all of us to the place. Then immediately we are done there. We are not going to stay long, please. And this is how we are going to go. The executives will be the first to go in, and professors. Then others will just join. You just go around the table, you pick whatever you want to pick, just exit again, enter into your vehicle, and we'll drop everybody at the town. So I think it has been a very good day. I appreciate all the presenters, everyone that have worked there. The technical session, I appreciate you. The ushers, please, I appreciate you. And everyone that have put 1 or 2 things together. Even the people that came around and served the food, we appreciate because the food is delicious. People make comment that it's tasty. So, and that is okay. I know tomorrow's one is going to be more sweet. Please. But make sure you take your breakfast before you come tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you very much. It's a nice time. Please put your hands together for yourself. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you very much, sir. Sir and Mas. It's nice meeting you. Thank you very much. That's the end of the session today. Thank you.